I turned my back on my best friend. That could have turned into a great business after seeing him sitting with my worst enemy. 40 years later, I received a call from him, and that call changed everything. We think we know who our enemies are. Sometimes we spend a lifetime holding on to a grudge, certain we were the victims of a betrayal, only to find out the real enemy was hiding in plain sight. The healthcare system can feel like a maze of closed doors and hidden secrets, but you don't have to navigate it alone. This is the Clinical Watchdog, unraveling the mysteries of modern medicine so you can take back your power. 40 years ago, I was 16 going on 17. My best friend Ronnie was 20, smart, charismatic, a big brother who looked out for me. He had a great idea for a business and wanted me as his sole partner. We agreed to meet at our favorite coffee and pool hall at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. When I walked in, I stopped cold. There was Ronnie, sitting and laughing with Greg, the guy who had tormented me relentlessly for 5 years, all through junior high and high school. In that instant, I felt betrayed. I turned my back, walked out before they could see me, told my parents never to take his calls, and never looked back. For decades, I tried various business ventures on my own, most of them scams, none of them succeeding. But 16 years ago, I met the love of my life, and 14 years ago, I began my career as a phlebotomist. Life had stability, until about 6 months ago, when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol. A calcium score test showed plaque on my heart, putting me at a medium to severe risk for heart failure. I did what my doctor ordered: metformin, Mounjaro, and rosuvastatin. The Mounjaro was a huge win. It brought my A1C down and helped me drop 42 pounds. But the rosuvastatin came with a heavy tax. When I told my doctor that I was still feeling brain fog, memory loss, muscle aches, and sore ankles when walking, his response was dismissive. "You're 56, close to 60. These things happen with age, but your cholesterol is managed and controlled." Managed, controlled. Those words felt hollow. 3 days after my doctor's visit, I received a phone call out of the blue from Ronnie. I was shocked. He explained he had gotten my number from my sister. They had run into each other, and he recognized my sister, and they spoke, and my sister gave him my number. When he asked what happened all those years ago, and why I never showed up that day, I didn't hold back. I told him, "You were sitting with my worst enemy, someone who had tormented me for 5 years, and there you were sitting with him laughing. Instead of arguing over the phone," he said, "Look, let's meet at our favorite cafe, the one from 40 years ago. It's still there, right where we left it." It felt like pure nostalgia. To my amazement, that same place in New York was only 45 minutes away from where I currently lived in Connecticut, less than an hour away, so I agreed to meet him there the next day. When I walked into that cafe, I couldn't believe how healthy and young Ronnie looked. He was 4 years my senior, but he certainly didn't look like it. When I sat down at our old table, a cup of coffee was already waiting for me. I couldn't believe Ronnie still remembered exactly how I liked my coffee, and that's when he explained the truth. He explained what really happened that day at the cafe 40 years ago. Greg was his cousin. 6 months prior to that day, 39 years ago, Ronnie had forced Greg to stop bullying me. Greg was at that table because he wanted to apologize and ask for my forgiveness. And he and Greg had been laughing because he had explained to Greg what a natural comic I was, and whose humor was the anchor of the business venture he and I had planned together. Greg was never meant to be a partner in it at all. Before I could fully process the weight of what I had thrown away, Ronnie slid a sleek leather folder onto the table. He opened it up and laid out the audited financial statements, expansion portfolios, and global distribution certificates for the company we dreamed up together. He walked me line by line through the numbers: 8 figures in annual revenue, international markets, and a sprawling headquarters. He showed me the exact empire we would have built side by side. Sitting there in the cold reality of those numbers, the crushing realization hit me. My stubbornness and knee-jerk pride had walked away from a multi-million-dollar success. Before the conversation turned dark, he asked how I had been doing. That's when I told him how I had finally come out and had married the love of my life, and that my husband and I have now been together for 16 years. Ronnie wasn't surprised at all. He was non-judgmental, genuinely happy for me, and only wanted my happiness. He told me that he and his wife had been together for close to 35 years in an incredible marriage where they did everything they could have dreamed of. Then the conversation turned dark when I told him of my diagnosis 6 months ago. It was then when Ronnie told me about Greg. 2.5 years ago, Greg passed away at age 56, the exact age I am right now. Greg had also been diagnosed with high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and severe heart disease, and was put on Lipitor. He followed every doctor's order, yet constantly complained of the exact same things I was feeling: brain fog, muscle aches, and being told his numbers were managed and controlled right up until the end. After telling me about Greg, Ronnie leaned in and revealed his own story. 4 years ago, he had also been diagnosed with high cholesterol, and his LDL levels were way higher than they should have been, sitting right in the 190s. But after Greg passed away 2.5 years ago, he knew there had to be a change. He started feeling some of those similar symptoms that Greg had talked about: the brain fog, the achiness. He realized something was changing, and he had to change. He started doing deep research and discovered the truth about the statins and cholesterol medicines being pushed on us. In fact, Ronnie had also been prescribed rosuvastatin, the exact same cholesterol medicine that I was on. Realizing what it was doing to him, he stopped taking that medicine altogether. Through his studies, he found the right type of natural supplement, a non-pharmaceutical, powerful antioxidant that was specifically cold-pressed. He explained that the beets we buy in the market today go through way too much processing and are more like candy than anything else, soaked in sugars. Even the beet powder out there is heated up to too high of a level, which completely kills off the vital bioactives needed. But he came across something through his studies that was properly cold-pressed and rich in heirloom betulins, and he immediately ordered it. He shared how taking it brought his and his wife's passion to a whole new level, like it was 30 years ago, like in their first years of marriage, when they were in their late 20s. Then, Ronnie reached into his bag. He pulled out a small capsule, opened it up, and let a rich, dark red powder spill right out onto his white cafe plate. Taking his straw, he dipped it into his glass of water, let a single small drop hit that dark red powder, and watched as it instantly bloomed into a deep, dark red flow. He looked at me and said, "That's what you want to see. What you don't want to see is something turning into brown rust. That brown rust is the oxidized LDL." As a phlebotomist with over 13 years of clinical experience, watching Ronnie demonstrate that test and hearing him describe Greg's final years sent a chill straight down my spine. It forced me to look past the medical establishment's favorite buzzwords, managed and controlled, and confront the biological reality without getting lost in confusing medical jargon. Let's break it down simply. You have two main types of cholesterol checked on standard panels. There is HDL, which stands for high-density lipoprotein, known as the good cholesterol because it helps clear out your system. Then there is LDL, which stands for low-density lipoprotein, known as the bad cholesterol. But standard lab panels only give you a basic, total number and miss the real underlying danger: oxidized LDL. Regular LDL circulating in your blood can become damaged and rancid when attacked by free radicals and oxidative stress. That damaged form is oxidized LDL, which turns into a sticky, destructive brown rust that embeds itself right into your artery walls, driving dangerous inflammation and plaque buildup. Here is what your doctor isn't telling you about standard cholesterol medications like rosuvastatin and Lipitor. They lower your circulating LDL cholesterol numbers on paper, yes, but in doing so, They completely hide the real culprit behind cardiovascular events, that oxidized LDL and arterial inflammation. Statins block the mevalonate pathway in your liver to suppress cholesterol synthesis, but that exact same pathway is responsible for producing coenzyme Q10, known as CoQ10, which is the essential cellular spark plug required by your heart muscle and skeletal muscles to generate energy in the form of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, the primary energy currency of your cells. When you deplete CoQ10, you starve your muscle tissue of ATP. That is why millions of patients experience debilitating muscle aches, cramping, and crushing brain fog, only to be dismissed by physicians who claim it's just aging. This energy starvation can also impact vascular health and tissue repair mechanisms. Similar to how disruptions in tissue plasminogen activator, known as TPA, the key protein involved in breaking down blood clots, affect the cardiovascular system. Lowering the cholesterol count doesn't stop the fire if the underlying issue is oxidation, the hardening and rancidity of those LDL particles within the vascular wall. That's why managing a number isn't the same as healing the vessel. This is why we have to look beyond pharmaceutical management and target the root cause of lipid oxidation directly. Non-pharmaceutical, powerful antioxidant interventions, specifically cold-pressed, heirloom betalin-rich extracts like Rosabella, packed with potent bioactive betalains and rich violet pigments, work entirely differently. Instead of shutting down vital cellular pathways, they neutralize the free radicals that oxidize LDL in the first place, protecting vascular integrity, preserving CoQ10 integrity, and supporting true cardiovascular health without the toxic neurological and muscular side effects. I want to make it completely clear, you are not going to see any affiliate links here, because I am not making any profit off of talking about products such as Rosabella. I'm not getting paid by them to make this video. I created the Clinical Watchdog purely to raise awareness, to make us advocates of our health, and to emphasize how important it is to constantly have these things checked. You have to ask your doctor for an ionized cholesterol test, something that will probably surprise your doctor when you ask for it. But that is why we have to be educated patients so we know what specific tests to request. Don't let a managed lab sheet blind you to what's happening inside your body. Question the narrative, protect your cellular energy, and stop letting modern medicine treat a symptom while ignoring the fire. This is the Clinical Watchdog. Stay vigilant.